It's moments like this that make me feel ridiculous. But I just bought a coffee. Oh no, the light turned green. I feel like I'm on a constant safari with the gods, especially with, the wisdom of Odin, because anytime I feel them, anytime I feel the gods or they're telling me to do something, I'm like, I gotta record this, and I just like jump to it. And I was just getting coffee, and I was kind of just moved to get coffee, and I wanted to drive a little bit further to get, support local business who had to drive through, and I decided to get coffee there, and I didn't know why, but I realize now it's because whenever I can, or whenever I'm just not feeling connected to Odin or the gods, I feel it is necessary to wander in a way, because that's how we connect to the gods, or at least in my experience, if we're having trouble connecting to them, the way we connect and the way we get back to that is we emulate them. So with Odin, the god of wisdom, the god of the wanderer, the god of the warrior, you look on those aspects and you realize that is how you connect with him. So for me, not being necessarily a warrior, I decided to be the wanderer. And yes, I didn't wander 1,000 miles away, but I still wandered, and and I made someone smile. I tipped generously, because it's like, why not tip generously when the gods are around, you're feeling good. I got to do that. I got to see, actually it's a really pretty day, even though it's cloudy. Like there's a mist in the air, there's a wetness in the air. I mean, it's really wonderful out. And I was like, you know what? I still want to talk to the gods. And so, what am I going to do? Still everything's in lockdown. How am I going to talk to the folk, talk to the gods? So I'm just going to take my coffee and I'm going to go to the park and I'm going to talk to you about emulating the gods. That's what I'm meant to do today, while also driving, which is incredibly dangerous. And I'm sure everyone's looking at me like, look at this freaking hipster recording his vlog in his car, drinking his fancy coffee. But anyways, why is it so important to emulate our gods? I get a lot of messages, and it seems like the messages always drive the content of my videos. And the message I kept on getting in the last few days is, I felt so connected to the gods. Why don't I hear them anymore? The gods have gone silent on me. What have I done to anger them or upset them? And it's not that we necessarily anger or upset them. It's that our gods are individual beings. They're not these omnipresent forces that always watch us. They can watch us in small and interesting ways, but they're not always around. And so I often say, it's like, no, they haven't gone silent. It's just they're not around. And that's a big difference. It's not as if they, just bow down to our every whim. They got busy. So then we have to think, how are we going to get their attention again? How do we get them to realize, oh yes, what about Jacob? What's Jacob up to? I need to spend time with him. I mean, it's the same thing with any relationship. I've always said our relationship with the gods needs to be nurtured like any other in our lives. So in particular with Odin, if I'm like, okay, I haven't felt Odin in a bit, what do I need to do? I need to emulate him. I need to emulate our gods. And I've had this conversation with a few people, and it's always different. Every god is going to be different. So for Thor, for instance, Thor is the god of strength, the god of battle, the god of the hearth, the god of thunder. There's so much more to attach to, and I feel like so many people with Thor get so attached. First off, I don't know if you can see it. It's a really pretty park. Also very busy for how cloudy and gray it is. But with Thor, it's not always a thunderstorm. I feel like people can get really obsessive and really attached to the idea of the thunderstorm. But really, you can attach to Thor through many aspects. Through a fire. You can attach to him through a fight. If you are, often than not, I talk to people who are into boxing or MMA, and they want to connect to Thor. I'm like, you have the best option to connect to Thor, because you're a boxer. Like, just emulate him in the ring. Feel the god of thunder in your heart when you box. And they're like, oh yeah. And the few people I've talked to that have had this connection have had wonderful results to this, and it's always cool to get to work with people that work with fighting and things like that. All right, and cool. I'm finally here. All right, let me get situated, and I'll be right back. I really hope it comes through how underprepared I am for this, because seriously, here's the coffee, and I'm wearing flip-flops. And luckily, I had the sweater in my car. I really was just going to go get coffee and then go to the grocery store. And yeah, I really just felt the urge that, like, I need to go here and I need to talk about this. And it's definitely been hard to do my grand adventure videos where it's like, I'm going to go see a waterfall, just because everything's closed right now. But luckily, this park is still open. And I mean, yes, this is very groomed, but it's still, I mean, I always love coming in here, especially in these cold, misty days, because a little bit of me is like, yes, the forest of the homeland. But yeah, so emulating the gods. Obviously, I love to emulate the Wanderer. Fighters love to emulate Thor. And it's hard for a lot of gods because we know so little about them. And hopefully, as I've gone through these Seeking Wisdom series, you see that we have so little reference to go on. And a lot of it's going to have to come from your heart. Especially, like, gods like Frigg. Frigg, we don't know that much about. We know the wife of Odin. We know, a master of Sather magic, divination. And really, I don't have the sources right in front of me, but there's very little on Frigg. She's a part of a couple stories, but not like the subject of many stories. So, connecting to the gods like her, goddesses like her, is going to be a lot harder. But I've learned in my path, especially with someone like Frigg, who I knew very little about, but I wanted to connect to because, of the connection with Odin. Why would I not want to connect to the All-Mother? And I had a dream once, and she was in the dream, and it was very profound. And I've learned that her key is kindness. And now I've learned that if I really want to connect with her, I need to be kind. And I need to emulate that kindness and warmth, even though Odin tends to make me kind of cold and rigid. And so a lot of it's going to be very exploratory. There's no book that helps us with this. You have to remember that this faith is so scattered and fragmented, we're going to have to fill in the blanks. And as I've always said, I'm not saying let's change our sources and change our history, but we're writing our own history and we're writing our own walk in this faith. And so when you feel something, you have to go with your gut. Especially with something like emulating the gods. If you feel as though when you're kind, like I do, and you connect to Frigg, do it. Connect with Frigg that way. Other gods like Oller. Sound the Gjallerhorn has a really good video about Oller. And Oller is a god I've been trying to connect to. I'll leave the link to his video down below, but he talks about his experience with connecting to Oller and how it was kind of this natural progression where he was in the wild, in the wilderness, and all of a sudden he started, seeing, I think it was a stag or a deer, and he wanted to go meet that stag or deer and was able to get really close, and that's how he connects to Oller, and that's now how he connects to Oller, is by connecting to that wilderness. And we can all learn from each other, and that's the beauty of this faith, is I don't know everything. I will never know everything, but I still want to learn more. I want to meet other people who have had these experiences. Don't become closed off. Sorry, I had to switch arms because, like I said, I became completely unprepared for this video, but I just really felt like I needed to send this message to people. But also just to commune with the gods myself. Again, I keep on harping on the groomness of this place, but it still feels magical. And come on, envision with me here. This is kind of a vision I have for the hall, is an area like this, where it's just this long pathway that heads back, and at the end would be the hall. And this is the kind of path you would walk to get to the hall. Oh man. This gets me excited because I really can't envision that. And maybe that's why I'm here. Maybe I'm here to see that again and really observe how beautiful it is back through here. Even though it is groomed by man, we can still do something beautiful like this, and I'm sure we will feel plenty connected to the gods. Ooh. Oh. Normally this is where I would take my glasses off in a dramatic response, and I normally would because I see it now. And imagine with me. You hear the drums in the distance. You hear tagala harpas. You hear lyres. You hear the voices of your pagan brothers and sisters. You smell good food cooking on warm fires. Laughter. Celebration. You see stones to our gods. You see offerings left for them. Not an inch of this grove would be left without a pagan sitting on it, as we all just celebrate our gods. And at the end of the path, at the end of all that celebration, you see it in the distance. You see the hall, a place where we gather as folk to worship our gods. I can see it. I love it to be a place like this, and I hope you can too. Well, I think I'm just going to wander about for a bit and just really enjoy this moment, enjoy this vision, and I hope you enjoyed that vision too. But yeah, emulate your gods, and you won't know what you're going to find. It's a good day. Until the hall. Until we're here. Skal. I feel like I'm being challenged right now. So I don't normally do it in places like this. But I kind of want to. Oh!